Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to Phil's Recap and Review. Better Call Saul, Season 3, Episode 4, Sabrosito. What the fuck? Holy shit. Or Breaking Bad, episode number whatever, especially the way this episode started. Welcome to the post-episode recap. I'm really excited to be here the next day to talk about this episode of Better Call Saul, but I'm not alone. Although I have with me the best motherfucking people in the world, the motherfucking chat. I also have with me my co-host who's back every other week with us with the Better Call Saul recaps. We have Joe Dirty Locks. How are you doing today, Joe?
Fantastic. How y'all doing?
I'm feeling really good because you know what I felt like I got in this episode, Joe, more than anything? I feel like we got more development with Gus Fring in this episode than we did through a lot of Breaking Bad, and I loved every single minute of it. We're going to get into this. We want to hear what Joe thought about last week's episode, but if you guys want to get your thoughts in, you can obviously jump in the live motherfucking chat, or you can email me at igotissuesman@gmail.com. You can also call and leave a voicemail at 781-990-8509 or text that line at 781-990-8509. Excuse me. I'm flabbergasted today to talk about this episode of Better Call Saul because coming off last week, and I definitely want to get Joe's thoughts on last week's episode, but coming off last week's episode, which I said was one of my favorite Better Call Saul episodes in a long time, especially of the earliest season, and then maybe in the discussion for one of my favorite episodes of all time of Better Call Saul, that was being a little hyperbolic. I was getting ahead of the game a little bit because I got a taste of what's to come. Now that I got a taste of it, Misa, hungry Jaja Binks, and Misa got lots of Breaking Bad in this episode. Holy shit. Yeah. The start of this episode, like, literally brings you to Breaking Bad. You have the Breaking the Bad beginning, which is incredible. But before we go too far, Joe, what are your thoughts so far? We haven't talked to you in a couple of weeks. What are your thoughts of the last couple of episodes and just general outline of the last two episodes of Better Call Saul?
Jesus, last week's episode was unbelievable. As soon as I was done watching it, I texted you how it was amazing. And I think as a whole, these two episodes back to back, I think are probably some of my best episodes of either series so far. I really like the way they're done. I can't say enough good stuff about the show. The filming of it, everything, the writing, the acting,
everything. That's the thing, Joe. I want to take a look at even a little bit more deep in this episode is the acting. We talked about this a lot last season about bringing Gus back. What would it mean? Could they do it right? And then also when I had an opportunity to talk to Gus back there, one of the things he said is if he was going to do something like this, it had a count. It couldn't just be oh look, here I am on Better Call Saul. It has to be for a reason. And even small things like having the moment where he shoots the basketball was just or shoots the piece of trash into the thing to show how happy he is at the situation that Hector put him through, and just seeing a little bit more of who Gus really is and seeing his progression, seeing how he takes a plan from beginning to success. It's really incredible from an acting standpoint, everything that we're getting, because we got 30-40 minutes of this episode of Better Call Saul without Saul Goodman, without Bob Odenkirk, and I was okay with that.
Oh yeah, more than okay with it. It was he had very little to do with the Bob Odenkirk's character. That storyline had very little to do with this episode, but still with what they did use, you felt like they moved it along quite a bit. There was more intrigue going on with whatever they're doing with old Martin there.
Yep.
Martin's home repair services. So, Jesus, just good stuff.
And people keep talking, or they want the Saul Goodman of it all. We get Saul Goodman every scene we see him with Mike. When he's in the coffee shop talking to Mike and being all annoyed and oh God, I'm just gonna get out of here. Okay, whatever, Mike, and walks out of there. He is Saul Goodman in that scene. That's his personality. When the two of them get together, it's like a party. And then we get Mike in Gus's interactions going back and forth. I must admit, the first couple of episodes, the first 2 episodes of this season, I wouldn't say I was down on it, but I was a little whatever about the Mike storyline, not as hype on it as I wanted to be, just in Mike discovering who was following him, partially because we all knew, or I felt like we all knew who was following him. And it was just kind of them figuring it out or getting it to the right point. But now I love the progression of it. And I love seeing him work with Gus and seeing how Gus is going to basically woo him.
We're gonna see how they get to We're gonna see how they get to put that motherfucker in the wheelchair. It was either this episode or last episode. I think it was last episode. There was a great little foreshadow where there was a bell sound and we saw the wheelchair almost back to back. But it was like a bell sound from a door, but we saw a visual of a wheelchair, and then we saw this motherfucker. And I think it was a real good call. And it was said, I wish I could remember the part, whether it was this, I think it was last week.
It might have been last year. I think you're thinking of when he comes into the shop and we hear the bell ring. And then earlier in that scene, we see a wheelchair. Oh no, last week in the doctor's office, we kind of see a wheelchair for a second.
We do. And then there's a bell sound right away after the wheelchair. There's a ding ding and it's a bell sound. And then right after that, we see our man there, freaking asshole there. With the cigar, I forget his name, Hector.
Hector. Let's jump into the live motherfucking chat for a second here. Rag says, I love the pool shots. So fucking good. We're going to get into that. Amazing the way this episode started out. That I don't know if this was the episode Vince Gilligan was talking about where he felt like they were doing a Breaking Bad episode, but the beginning of this definitely felt very Breaking Bad. Claudio says, this episode was all about Hector and Chuck's ego and them thinking they won, their inflated egos and how they don't see what's coming to them.
Yep, exactly. Oh, perfect. Great.
Perfectly said,
awesome.
Claudio. I'm not even going to piggyback that because that's just perfectly said.
Because they don't. And you see it written all over oh God, I can't remember his name. Polo Hermano's face when he throws that tinfoil in. He's like, swish, I got him exactly where I want him. He needs me. He's forcing me. I set him up so I would have to take his shit into this fucking country. It'll be my shit. I'll take over his business. I'm going to have his supply route. I will squeeze him out because of this.
100%, Joe. He's setting him up so that when him and Mike cause Hector's stroke or somehow cause him to be in that wheelchair by giving him some drug or some fucking shit that they figure out, when that happens, he's already going to be set up to have all of Hector's supply lines. So he can just take over his business easy.
Right. And it will be given to him by the cartel. It won't be given to his number 2 because Hector will have it all. He'll have all the connections, all the routes, all the supply lines. What I don't quite understand is the other half of what Claudio is saying is on Chuck's end. I'm not sure I see what's coming. I know something's coming. Jimmy fucking Saul Goodman's got something up his sleeve for Chucky. But I can't figure out exactly what they got planned. Did he put in microphones? Did he put in cameras? What did he do in there?
Okay, let's talk about that for a second.
Was it just to fuck with him?
No, I think him is going to challenge Chuck's credibility in the hearing of being completely insane. He's showing him the pictures of the iron on the stuff. It's going to show that Chuck's a danger to himself. So when Saul came over there, when he busted in, he had to bust in because he thought, because of what Ernesto told him, which was emotional stuff, that he thought his brother, who is a danger to himself and other people around him, need him to bust in there to save him, essentially. And he was going in there emotionally, blah, 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 to show how non-credible Chuck is. At least that's the speculation I have of where they're going in that direction. But I don't know. What I don't know is what was that last piece of information that I know what it is. I fucking know what it is that Mike got for Chuck, got from Chuck for Jimmy, the piece of paper where Jimmy goes, "Where'd you get that from?" It's Rebecca. It's Rebecca's address. Jimmy's gonna bring Chuck's ex-wife there to fuck with him emotionally. That's whose address. Got it from his address book. I'm making the call. I'm putting myself out on that tree limb. What he got is Rebecca's going to show up in the courtroom at some point on Jimmy's side to be like, Chuck is an asshole. And Chuck is going to go on tilt and go crazy in the courtroom and fucking freak out and lose it and be hospitalized and be dead by the end of the season. But I don't know. Jimmy's going to cause die. I'm going a little further down the road, but I think that's relatively their plan, Joe.
Whew.
I know. Pretty serious shit. Maybe I'm darker than it's going to go, but I think it might go in that direction. Broke Blackman says, Joe, let's be honest. You wrote Better Call Saul, so let's get to business with season 8 of The Walking Dead. Come on, Joe. Move it along.
I wish.
We got killed.
Did he say I wrote it?
You wrote it. Yeah, you wrote it.
Yeah, I wish I was a writer for these shows. I at least wish they would consult me, let me watch the season and tell them how to make things better. And I would have nothing, really, honestly, truly, for no doubt.
No notes.
Everything there are things that I would say eventually with Breaking Bad that I would have to have notes about for them. But unfortunately, or fortunately for them, with Better Call Saul as is so far, with all 3 seasons so far, there's like nothing I could tell them to do differently or better.
So Heineken says, I wonder if Kim was recording Chuck saying he just broke just a copy of the tape. I think that was maybe setting him up too, because she did say bingo after that, Heineken. Very good point. KLC, great to see you, KLC. Ragnar says, I feel like Hector is going to end up in the wheelchair this season. It feels like they're setting up for it. Yeah, it feels like the pace is picked up, and they're going to pick up that storyline leading down towards there. I think they definitely, I don't see this show going past 5 seasons. So I think it's really going to be a 4 season or 5 season show. They're going to end on their own terms. They're not going to be canceled.
I really hope however many seasons it is, and I know they're kind of writing this as they go a little bit.
Yeah, that's how they work.
I really hope they have a clear vision as to where they want to end.
They do.
And they get there in a timely manner without.
These are the guys that ended Breaking Bad in 5 seasons when AMC wanted them to do 10. So they're not afraid to walk away from something when they think it's done. They're very specific to the. I know I kiss these guys' ass and I'm fanboy.
They're unbelievable with this shit, and it's okay that you're a fanboy. This is why that title exists, Phil, for good shit like that. I mean,
like this, yeah.
For good shit like this, you call yourself a fanboy, okay? You really like the show.
I listen to their podcast talking about how they make each episode. Like I'm really addicted to these
like that. That's okay. That's okay. This is good stuff. This is really fantastic stuff.
I'm drinking Hector's Kool-Aid here. Hector taking the gum off his shoe was so cringy. Yeah, what a fucking
what an asshole. He's sitting in Gus's chair, and as soon as Gus walks in, he's been staring at that shit on his shoe, and it's not gum. He says mierda, shit. It's dog shit, and so he starts flicking the dog shit off with Gus Fring's pen onto his desk.
Because Gus immediately looks like your feet are on my desk. He's like, oh, my feet? My shit's gonna be on your desk. Take a shit, eat my shit. Say my name, motherfucker. Hector taking the gun. It was so cringy. Regan says, yeah, that feels like what Gus was referring to when talking to Mike. That his bullet in the head's too humane. But ultimately, if we look to Breaking Bad, you should have just put a bullet in his head, Gus. As the show evolves, I'm loving the interweaving of Breaking Bad storyline. So seamless, can only get better, I hope. Uncle D, I feel like it's only going to keep getting better and better. Claudio says Hector's going to have a stroke when he takes a shit. David says I don't watch, but I had to come to drop a like. Thank you, David. That is amazing. Retired nurse says good observation, Joe, but only able to know it from watching Breaking Bad. Says retired nurse. Broke says, one true David, what's good? Chillin' Broke. How's it going, everyone? Great to see everyone in the live motherfucking chat. Let me scroll down. Renwood, great to see you, love. Yeah, hi, Mom. And I feel like the show might eventually get to where the flash forward scenes begin. I agree, KLC. I think we're going to end in the black and white in the future of the Breaking Bad universe. I think it's just a matter of time before we get more into that particular situation. Base, great to see you, Base. Great to see everybody.
I just want one of them to go through the fucking car wash. Come on.
Have an A1 day, Joe.
One of them can't go through the fucking car wash. I mean, he worked there before the high school, right? So we can't have that.
And Broke was saying about what I was saying about Rebecca. Yeah, I wouldn't see why we wouldn't have that one episode of Chuck's wife. We need her. And also the fact that Jimmy
Do we need her though? I mean,
yes.
I mean, they bring her up So I think you have a very good chance of being
Jimmy
right. Why bring her? Right, exactly.
Yeah, why did Jimmy bring her up to let us know that she left, she isn't dead? Because last season when we had the Rebecca episode, we speculated that maybe she died, blah, 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 blah. But we find out from Jimmy when he's yelling at Chuck, breaking in, that she left him because he's an asshole. So that's why I think we wouldn't have gotten that line if they didn't intend to maybe bring her in. They littered us with that a little bit.
Right. So that's where I figure you're probably right about your assumption or your guess or your theory, but I do we need her? Do we need her to come?
No,
do we need her?
No, we don't need her. It's just an interesting theory, I guess, of where Jimmy's plan could go, but I don't think we need her, Joe. Too intensive a term then. I think it would be an interesting touch, but I have confidence whatever they do is going to be not what I'm exactly thinking. So because I'm thinking that, it might be something else. So
what if? Yeah, I don't know. What if they do something to drive him crazy? Put something in the walls to make noises or beeps or buzzes or something, like. Or
something like, yeah, exactly. Jimmy brings in an electric razor, just starts shaving, like all this electric. That's what I originally thought Mike was doing when he showed up with the thing, just to put him on tilt. I mean, he kind of was doing that, but I think
he was doing something else. He was taking pictures for sure.
Pictures and finding whatever that information was on that piece of paper. Mike's messing with Chuck was great. The fact that we got Michael McKean and Jonathan Banks in a scene together, which again, I think is something last season or maybe first season on a podcast, we said it would be awesome to see those guys in a scene together. It might not never fucking happen, but it would be great. And it definitely paid off. And I think on some level, Mike, not the weirdness about the electrical stuff, but I think on some level, Mike did not find Chuck as annoying as Jimmy wanted him to, just because of
yes, he did.
You think so?
Yes, he did. You want me to? I showed up here. I'm old. I'm 70, right? Something like that in the 60s or 70s. You want me to fucking turn a screwdriver to fix this door really into new wood? Like,
see, I think that was part of the plan. What I mean is that he was actually maybe that was just part of playing the character.
It was part of the plan, and it was part of playing the character. But honestly, if that's who was to show up, go fuck yourself, dude. Like straight up. I mean, yeah, sure, I'll work for 2 days and take my sweet ass time doing it, like you said, because you're gonna pay me by the hour. But
I think Jimmy wanted Chuck. I wanted him to hate Chuck. He wanted him to agree with him in that situation and be like, yeah, Chuck's an asshole. Whereas Mike just has no opinion about anything. It's just whatever. I don't care.
What was he gave him a story, like, yeah, I know someone that has something similar.
No, that was the DA, which was hilarious. When she's like, yes, my brother-in-law has a condition that he's allergic to wind or something. It was something ridiculous. Trevor says, did anyone see inside the intro where it shows a cell phone inside Saul's drawer? There's like 5 frames panning over to Jesse's Hello Kitty phone from Breaking Bad. Have to rewatch that. That's great, Trevor. Amazing catch. I did not see that. I need to know what straw broke the camel's back for the Rebecca situation, I think is what Ren said. Retired nurse says Chuck is probably more devastated by his wife leaving them than if she died. I agree with that, retired nurse. I think that is probably one of his biggest.
It's probably the catalyst to what happened with whatever this electrical shit is.
Yep.
Or at least what he decided the pain with the pain from the breakup is transferred into this feeling that it's because of electronics, and because he can focus on that is how he copes. As long as I'm not feeling the pain from the electronics, I don't feel the pain from, he doesn't even connect it. Pain from the loss.
No, that's a great point, Joe. We self-medicating in his own way, and essentially. Mike and Jimmy keep owning each other favors, says Rag. That's the only reason why Mike does favors for Jimmy in the Breaking Bad times. That's a great retired nurse is exactly right, Joe. So that's a question I wanted to bring up, Joe. Do you think we all know that Mike has affinities for people? Does Mike help Saul out continuously through time? We obviously know he starts working for Gus and making hand over fist money. Why does he continue even into the Breaking Bad timeline to keep working with Jimmy? Does he like Jimmy? Does Mike on some level?
I think he does. I think he looks at Jimmy a lot like he looks at himself. Like he's an ex-cop, knows what's right and knows what's wrong, and decides, just how far to take what he's doing and who he's doing it to know whether or not it's right or wrong. And, it might be right to do something to someone, but not to someone else. It's okay to, maybe put a bullet in Hector's head, but why did they have to go this dude wasn't in the game that they shot last season, come on.
Yeah.
You didn't have to kill him.
Good evening. Yeah, I agree with you, Joe. I definitely agree with you there. Baron says, good evening from Germany. Good evening from Boston. Back to Germany, my friend. Great to see you.
Hell yeah.
And Claudia says, yes, Mike loves Jimmy. Ooh, Mike.
I think they do. I think he does like him a lot. And I think it, just like what he says to Gus, it's not just about, I'm going to work for Gus from now on. It's I'll work for Gus if the jobs are right. Gus is going to know better not to tell Mike to go out and murder people. He won't do that. He'll have other people do that. He will never we never saw Mike do that, right?
No, I mean, we maybe
almost, but maybe.
But mainly saw Mike doing money drops, picking up money from spots, like going out to random places in the desert and dropping money or picking up money.
And if he was going to ever kill Bryan Cranston, it was because Bryan Cranston, if you realize by the end of that run, Bryan, that character
is evil. Yeah. He thought
he's not a good guy, right? No, he's not. He lost any semblance of it. So
and Mike over time probably grew an affinity for Gustavo because he seems like at core, he's a bad guy to the Breaking Bad universe, but Gus ultimately is, he probably treated Mike really well. And Walt wanted to fuck with that. And Mike was like, no, this is a perfect situation. This guy's never going to get caught. Gustavo, if it wasn't for Walt and all of that shit, Gus was probably not going to get himself busted and not implicate Mike in that kind of situation. And Mike wanted to cause Walt harm and be involved in that situation because Walt is dangerous. I mean, we don't need to turn this into a Breaking Bad conversation, but you're 100% right, Joe. Walt is a fucking dangerous bastard. Jesse's right. Everyone's right about Walt. He's right. He's the most dangerous person in this entire universe because he doesn't give a fuck. And then when he gets power, he's one of those people that didn't have power before.
He fed on it.
He fed on it and just became drunk with it.
It corrupted him. And another thing why Mike likes Jimmy is Jimmy's the money guy. Jimmy knows how to hide the money. Jimmy hides Mike's money. Jimmy hides Brian's Walt's money. Jimmy hides his own money. Jimmy hides the money. Jimmy's got his own front with the he's got stores that he can front for people to money launder. Like he knows what he's doing. There's good reasons to like Jimmy. There's good reasons to keep working with Jimmy.
And Jimmy ends up being the hookup for the disappearing guy, the Jackie Brown guy.
Yep. Jimmy knows people. Jimmy knows a lot of criminal people. So there's a lot of reasons to work with Jimmy.
Mike had no problem breaking Jimmy's legs in Breaking Bad. So I don't know. They had to show how bad they really are. Killing the guys shows how unredeemable they are. Walt was people's kryptonite, says Claudio. So fuck Thanos. Marvel should get Heisenberg. He would surely break up the Avengers. So,
Heisenberg can create his own power crystals, right? His own gems, right?
They'll all be blue. But so this is a text message from a couple weeks ago that I never got to from area code 339. I think that Saul's brother thinks he is the moral and ethical one handing out justice to Saul. But he is actually the one who is morally corrupt because he takes satisfaction in the destruction of a person who should be loved and precious to him. My precious.
Yes, you are absolutely right.
Even if he didn't like Jim on a personal level, he should still be protective of a family member instead of murdering people for fun or fucking with people's lives for fun. Chuck is one of those people who has to feel superior to everyone in the world. He is willing to sell his soul and cross the line, destroy people if necessary. His wife, his brother don't matter. The only thing that matters is that he's the king of the mountain. What do you think about that, Joe?
I think Retired Nurse is absolutely right. 339. I thought it was her.
Oh, that was from Retired Nurse? Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, so she is 100% right on that. Kathy, words of wisdom. People wonder where Joe got it from. So
the apple didn't fall far from the grapevine in this family.
Yes.
We all bigly smart here.
wicked smart, dude. Wicked.
We wicked smart in this Massachusetts house.
Wicked. And on that note, it's time. Woo! Why does Jimmy's brother hate him so much? I think it has a lot to do with what we just said, and thank you for the awesome SoCal chick. Great to see you. I think a lot of it has to do with right there, that what a retired nurse was saying in that message, that Chuck is the moral compass. It's not just that Jimmy is his brother. He's a lawyer. He's in his shit. But I think even if Jimmy wasn't his brother, Chuck's just one of those guys that would do the same thing. And I think he's just one of those people that it has to be Chuck's way.
Why does any older sibling, right? Why? I mean, you might not know this, Phil. You don't have an older sibling, but why does any older sibling hate their younger sibling? Like, why? It just happens. Like one day, your older brother, who was like, oh, I love my new baby brother, he was awesome, just, decides, I hate this little fuck, and I hope he never comes near me again, and does everything in his life to, like, make him feel or her feel like they're a piece of shit and beneath them.
Okay, I neither.
Why? I wish tell me, Phil. Tell me why, man. Just tell me why.
Do we need to get you need to get Dirty M on this podcast to have an intervention with you here? Dirty M, your big brother. Okay, Joe, can we say that maybe I don't have kids and I don't have a brother, so I can only relate to this on the level of animals. I did have cats, and then I got a new cat. And then the new cat liked the animals liked each other when the new cat was young. But once the older cat got a little bit bigger, the second cat wanted to kill that other cat because it was taking away my love time. So I think maybe you became when you were young, but then eventually got to a point where your dirty dreads were gumming up the works, and no one was paying attention to you, and it became fun to beat you repeatedly in basketball and stuff every shot you make. And
I wasn't talking about me. No. Sure. I was just talking about friends of mine that might have that problem. Yeah. My older brother loves me.
Okay, of course
he does. No, seriously, he does.
No, he does. So
he loves me enough to never let me win a game of chess in my life or basketball or anything. He loves me that much, man.
He does. He's teaching you a lesson, Joe. He's teaching you that he's better than you at everything. That's fine.
What's the line? Brooke says, I was a boy, my big brother held on to my hand.
Yeah, retired nurse has an interesting perspective on this, Joe. The older one had the sole attention initially, so any other ones that get involved, it's like, wait,
attention whores
messing with my attention. Brooke says, I have 4 older brothers. I'm the baby. I am more the attention and get away with murder than everybody else. Of course you do. You're the baby. It happens less if the kids are close in age. If the kids are it happens less if the kids are very close in age. The people, because they feel like they're almost the same age. But I'm sure it even happens from the standpoint.
They don't realize they got all the attention they got if they're still like 1 or 2 before the other one was born, But if they're like 3, 4 or 5 or 6, they have enough time to know that, hey, everything is paid to me, and now all this other time is being paid to that thing. Ooh. That noisy, fucking disgusting, smelly thing.
The smelly thing. Oh, what is it? So Jeff and Rich, great to see you guys in the live motherfucking chat. What's up, Rich? Great to see everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, or whenever you're joining us. Please share your thoughts in the live motherfucking chat, or if you're watching this video later, share it in the comment section what you thought of this season of Better Call Saul and how it's tied into Breaking Bad and all of that stuff. If you want to get any thoughts, and we do have a voicemail lines to leave a voicemail, 781-990-8509. Again, that's 781-990-8509. What's that, Jim?
I'm just laughing at the chat.
Oh, Regan, it's not just age. Attention goes to the problem child. And the show
a little further.
Bad and fan service. We will get to it. It's standalone epic drama. Had no idea in season 1 I would be such a fan. Your brother can't even let his kids win a game. Retired nurse. He's like stuffing Laurie tries to shoot a basketball. He's like, no. Get beat me in Candyland? No, I can see him. You want to try to beat me in Candyland? I'm all in. Trevor says, when Hector confronted the assistant manager, he essentially said the name thing to him. Walter did with the same thing we're looking at Gus at Los Pollos Hermanos as well. Trevor says, and instead of Walt sitting down and sprinting into his office, Hector lit a cigar, got a drink, and waltzed into the office. Damn, great to see you. Wait, are you talking about Walt? What's going on? We're just about to start the recap part right now. Okay, so the episode begins. It's a true callback to Breaking Bad. We even in the color tone that we get an underwater scene, which eventually ends up to be the way this guy dies when Gus poisons all these dudes, and it's Don Eladio, I believe is his name.
Avi,
and he's in the backyard, and during this period of time. Excuse me. What's his name? Fucking Hector shows up, and Hector just is starting a business. He's starting an ice cream business. It seems like he's doing it. If we go later in the scene, he's doing it because a business like this worked for Gus. So, I'll open up an ice cream business, whatever, to smuggle my shit. And he named it after this guy's nickname, the Winking Greek, and he also brings out this little bobblehead toy for him,
like a Caesar.
Yeah,
it's like a Caesar statue, but the name of his ice cream is the Winking Greek, and it's a fat little bobblehead statue.
And he's like, "What? Do I look fat? No, I'm just chunky."
Is this supposed to be me?
Yeah, me Gordo? No, Gordo. Me chunky. So
brings him a 3/4 empty bag of fucking cash too, like rolled up bills, and he goes, "Okay, I like this better," but they're kind of going back and forth. And he seems generally pleased. So I do have to say. I do want to say this. There was a scene similar to this in Breaking Bad, I believe. A poolside scene, right? But even this scene and the whole entire way it played out from start to finish, minus the opening shot from underwater, which they play with a lot. There's a few of those in Breaking Bad as well. But it was just so fucking cliche. It was very cliche, right down to like, I'm going to insult you now, even though you're here delivering the money in person and Gus isn't. Look at all this beautiful, much more money, perfectly stacked. You ought to take a lesson from him, kind of shit that he gave him. Just the whole scene seemed a little cliche to me, and it felt a little slow to me, but I still really enjoyed it. It was still done very well and acted very well. That's all.
No, fair. I think all the villains, essentially, especially the Salamanca family and these guys, are kind of stereotypical. All the characters go to the brothers, or the cousins, wherever the twin guys and stuff like that. All the villains, but in that side are they're not quite, say, like Weed's level of displaying the cartel, but it's almost in some ways very caricatures of what the real people might be like. I see what you're saying. I really love the scene because it starts to lay the seeds of what's the big problem between Hector and Gus, and why Gus hates Hector so much, not just because of his friend getting killed earlier. I just liked seeing more of this. The problem I had with it was just a minor tiny area of like where the actor that played Don Eladio looks a lot older at some point, so than he did in times that was supposed to be after this, but whatever, it didn't really bother me too much. So, but I did love this scene. Eventually, this guy Bolsa arrives with a bag filled with a t-shirt from Los Pollos Hermanos, and Gus's money. Then he brings in the 3 huge stacks of money to be like, listen, motherfucker, this is the real money, and he really likes the way he's bringing.
And he drops the little line, yeah, that Gus, he's a distribution genius.
Yep, a distribution.
And so is this guy that dropped off the money, is he basically Gus's number 2?
No, he's a nut, or he's
like a partner of Gus's, like the
he's more
Polo
of a
hermano, brother, the chicken brother, the other one that we don't get.
The other brother got killed in an episode of Breaking Bad that we see that these guys killed. Bolsa is, I think, on the same level.
That's not the same actor?
No, it's the same actor that was on Breaking Bad, but a different character.
Okay.
Bolsa is just one of Eladio's main captains. It might even be his consigliere or something, like his number 2. It's in the or at least number 1, one of the other captains of him. He's a head of Gus on the chain, and he's sort of like Gus is his guy, like, oh, I brought this guy in that's gonna have money, but he's a made guy. He's one of the heads of the organization, from what I'm understanding. Like he's one of Eladio's main captains. Another cartel boss, says Jeff. I was waiting for Hector to piss in the pool again. His cartel contact. So the money does make Don Eladio happy, and then Don Eladio kind of makes fun of Hector, then gives Hector a Joker line, like, "Why so serious, Hector?" Because Hector's just a very serious guy, and then he goes, "Okay, fuck it, let's go inside and hang out." And Hector doesn't want to go in. He's like sitting at the pool, grumping and stuff. And what's his name? Bolsa comes over and goes, "Listen, dude, don't piss off the boss. Like, stop being disrespectful to the boss." He's sort of helping him, not really, but kind of pushing him over the hedge, tweaking him a little bit. But at that point, Hector's already made his decision about what he wants to do with the situation and go down to threaten Gustavo. So Gus did this to poke the bear. Yeah, basically. And Sam says, "My sister and I don't have the best relationship, but I'm still way better older sister to mine than Chuck is to Jimmy." I hope so. I hope so, Sam. So Hector needs a new way of getting the drugs into the country, thanks to Mike getting his ice cream truck business busted in order to do it. So then we get at this point where you think, or at least I thought in the episode, Joe, we were going to lead on to go back to a different area. We stay with this. Now, just from a framing of the episode standpoint, do you like it better when they do things like this, when we have...
Yeah, I've said it before. I like focus episodes and episodes of show. I dig it.
I dig it. Yeah, he's his capo for Gus. So...
Except when they do like dream episodes. God, can't stand that shit. Done with that shit.
I know how much you hate the fucking dream episodes. So, okay, so here we go. Now, following the trip to Mexico, Hector, Mike. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, then we get Mike, and Mike is watching the fallout from the DEA busting the truck. And I'm squinting my eyes, thinking if somewhere I can see Hank Schrader. Like, do I see a bald head anywhere back there? But no Hank Schrader sighting. I don't think he works for the Albuquerque office at that point yet. So then we see Mike get a call from his daughter-in-law, which for some reason I still don't trust her. She seems a little scummy to me. And then we see Kaylee and Stacy there. But this is a minor thing, very minor thing, Joe. The actress that they have playing Kaylee already looks too old to be the same girl in Breaking Bad. They need to recast her. I'm not one for recasting, but the girl looks 13 or 14 years old that they had in this scene. She was huge. And Kaylee looks so small in Breaking Bad. I think they hired an actress and they probably like her, so they're keeping her working. And she just grew out of the part, so it looks awkward to me. So then we see Victor show up again, another Breaking Bad character at the toll booth who gives Mike a bag full of cash, who Mike promptly returns to him.
Yeah, keep that shit.
No, I don't want to keep that shit.
We had a deal. We're even. Tell them we're even.
And I don't like.
No.
You take the money.
He throws it at him.
He throws the money at him. I mean, Mike, fuck you, dude. Like, for those of us that don't have money of our own, this is a very offensive scene. I don't get offended.
Extremely offensive.
I'm offended by Mike's treatment of money in this situation. Give it to me, Mike. What the fuck's your problem, dude? Donate it in Super Chat, Mike. Come on.
So wait a second. Age different looks can be explained because of drug use. So in the future, her doing drugs made her look younger?
Yes. I think
get me some of those drugs, man.
I think ultimately
the blue meth does it.
I think we can blame Walter for this one again. So this is Hector. We went over the scene, but this is Hector showing up at Los Pollos Hermanos.
Welcome to Los Pollos Hermanos. May I take your order?
Tu jefe está aquí.
Tu jefe está aquí.
Oh, men's room is over there.
I need to see your boss.
Big head.
Well, I'm the assistant manager. The manager's actually not here today.
No, the manager. The boss,
You mean Mr. Fring?
Mr. Fring.
Well, he's not here at the moment. I'm sure I could help you with whatever you need.
I need Fring.
Whatever you need.
Well, like I said, he's not here. I don't.
I almost expected him to piss on something here too, but he's instead he basically he's good to this kid, believe it or not. He could have, this kid's life could have got a lot worse. But I think he respects how tough the assistant manager is here. So he runs around, he lights the cigar,
I think he's also not. I think the assistant manager is not really noticing the other two guys standing around.
No, one of which being Nacho, who we haven't seen forever, who's a great actor at playing things without saying anything, but I do miss seeing him in some scenes. For someone that's considered a main character, he's missing a lot, and I want to see him more. Like I understand it was cool to get the doctor last episode with the fallback, but he could have been a part of this plan. And since he has problems with the Salamancas, and Mike could have got the drugs from him or something like that. But I think ultimately Gus is going to bring him in on his plan against Hector. And because we know that he's around later because Saul talks about him later. So he becomes more of a character as time goes on. So I do hope they bring him more into it, but I liked him in this scene. He doesn't really say much, but you could tell he doesn't approve of anything Hector's doing.
Well, the other guy tries to block some civilians from leaving the restaurant, which is probably the worst thing you could do. Like, he tells them to stop immediately unless the mother and child leave. Like, gives them a little look, you know.
Yep. No, I agree. Like, you want to make that as calm as possible with the people and just let people walk out and not make it seem like anything. But I think what Hector's goal is to make everyone uncomfortable. But someone asked in the live chat, and it's a good question, why no one called the cops, or no one on the staff have like sort of a call button to push for if they were robbed or anything like that. So it's lucky that the cops didn't show up.
Right. That was something that bothered me a little bit too.
So then after that, eventually we see a scene with Gus talking to some cops and doing more of the stuff that we see Breaking Bad Gus do, and just becoming ingrained into the community and hosting events for the police and eventually the DEA and all of that stuff. A pillar of the community, Joe. Gustavo Fring, pillar of the community. And then we finally have Gus coming back to talk to Hector. Let's play some of that.
Yeah, I was hoping we were going to see Hank in that scene.
I know where he is.
Me too, Joe. I think we might eventually, but
Hector.
okay. So
Hank's on the show. A very popular, semi-popular. Well, he's on the show.
So at this point, Joe was saying, Hector's has his shoes up on the table.
Mine is a cartel business, but it is mine, and it is legitimate. My employees are civilians. Your actions here today have endangered them, my interests, and those of the cartel.
I am the cartel. And from now on, you are my mule. You are going to bring my product north. Mierda.
Yeah, Hank does first meet him in Breaking Bad. And SoCal Chick says, it's the employees' videos. That's why these people are so well trained. So this is where Hector starts flicking shit onto his head. So ultimately, Joe, you agree that Hector is playing right into Gus's hand there. This is exactly what Gus wants him to do.
Yep, absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah,
he's like giving him a little shit back, and my trucks are full. I can't do it. You're endangering everything. I don't know how I'm going to work it out. I'm not a distribution genius or anything. Please. He's had this plan. Like, he's like, wow, that worked so much better than I thought it was gonna.
That's why he's thankful this guy Mike fell into his lap. And we hear Gus say later on in time in the Breaking Bad universe that he feels like he has an eye to spot people's talent and them fitting into him. He's talking about Mike. He's talking about seeing Mike and how Mike was perfect to ultimately lead to where he thinks is a perfect situation with Hector. Hector in the wheelchair, in a stroke, having to sit there and deal with eating Gus's shit no matter what. And Gus is in a dream situation there, not realizing eventually it would come to bite him in the ass and kill him. That problem he had, that enjoyment, that drug that he got off on and fucking with Hector, that Hector deserved more, that power he felt or whatever he felt, the payback he got from that, where he should have just ended it. Walt wouldn't have been able to get the best of him, or Walt would have had to try to think of a completely different situation. He used that against him.
I'll be right back.
Yep. Great to see you, Tim. I bet Gus used to be a basketball player with a shot like that. Hank does. And yeah, as Rag said, Hank first meets Gus in Breaking Bad. So let's continue. So we get a little bit more than we said that Mike doesn't want the money. And then we get back, just to continue the Gus storyline, take that to an end.
Could you all please take a moment and join me out here? Please.
We get the best of Gus Fring here. Him giving this speech to his employees, him rallying the troops essentially, and doing a couple things. One, making himself seem, it's one of the best ways to lie. You lie with some elements of truth mixed in, and be angry and be very confident and spiteful about your opinions there. This is perfect Gus, and more character development of him to see, how he handles his employees when situations like this arise, as we know. I'm glad that we got this scene. This is a very important scene in Gustavo Fring's development as a character.
If any of you wish to seek counseling due to lingering trauma, speak with me privately, and it will be arranged. Also,
Jeff, I'm thinking he absolutely did.
We'll all be receiving 24 hours of overtime, as I am sure in one way.
Like, what the fuck? And he also knows where this is leading. He knows one of these guys is going to ask the question, or he knows it's going to be Lyle, because Lyle fucking loves him.
Each of you brought this incident home with you. Yes, Lyle.
Mr. Fring, who were those guys?
Well, some of you know.
Doesn't miss a beat. He doesn't miss a beat. He just pauses for a second. Like, this story was locked and loaded, ready to go. He had made a decision. He had this planned out way ahead of time. He has plans on tops of plans and tops of plans and tops of plans.
Years ago, I opened my first Los Pollos Hermanos in Michoacán. Shortly thereafter, those same men showed up.
I stood up to my bullies and I said, "You can't have my lunch money." And he said, "Okay, we'll go home now."
I'm ashamed to
Bye.
say.
Yeah, they're not coming back. I swear they're not coming back, Joe.
If only that worked, right? Sorry, Mr. Extortionist Mobster.
You see,
I'm not giving you my money anymore. My shop isn't going to get burned to the ground tonight. No way.
No, because listen to the tone of my voice.
Place at that time.
Says Lyle's itching to get killed. Ragnar says, will the next episode only focus on Jimmy? I think it's going to be a very Jimmy heavy in the courtroom kind of episode.
Yeah, it's probably going to be. Absolutely, I think.
It seems like for the previews, it's going to be a lot more.
I think that, along with more of the Mike working to get Jimmy's plan going or whatever.
More of them, them working together on a lot of stuff. I think you're going to see a lot more Mike and Jimmy together a lot more this season, and starting the combining of the characters getting together. Yep, plans for his future. Yep, plans on tops of plans and tops of plans. I got skills on tops of skills on tops of skills.
If I wished to conduct my business, I had no choice.
I bet Gus is gonna cut that guy's neck with a box cutter. Like, that's his style.
But yesterday,
or poison him.
Yeah, they didn't even try to smack me around a little.
Just a little.
Here.
They didn't dunk my hand in the hot fryer machine. No.
Okay, yeah, I want to hear this, Joe, because this is a description. Okay, they came here.
Intimidated my customers.
Intimidated my customers. Okay, what'd you
They
do?
threatened my
Oh, and none of them called the cops.
Yeah.
None of my customers called, and none of you good employees called the cops. Thank you for not calling the cops. That was very nice of you, by the way.
That was keep everything in house here.
Now, my friends, I must confess that I almost gave them what they wanted.
Oh,
Then I thought, no.
This is America.
It's America.
USA. Yeah, the cartel has no power here.
This is America, and they are going to burn your fucking store down unless you give them the fucking money.
The cartel has zero power in Albuquerque. Zero power.
The right have no reason to fear.
Yeah, the righteous never have any reason to fear, Joe.
Never.
Dude, you and me are sitting there. I'm the utility man, and you're the line cook. Dude, we're getting the fuck out of here.
Yo, dude.
Boston Market's hiring, dude.
Dude, before I left the store that day, I would have turned to Hector or fucking, hey, man, you guys got any weeds?
Need a Batman or something?
My miserable life.
Have no power. And when they saw that I had no fear of them, they ran.
That's what
That's what bullies do.
That's what bullies
You
do.
show them no fear by being polite and saying no, bad bully.
Bad bully.
Stop.
You shouldn't bully people. Bullying's wrong,
Go
bully.
back to your country. That's what he
Everybody-
said to him.
That's what it worked in Back to the Future. When George McFly said to Biff, hey, you, get your damn hands off her. That was enough, Joe. That's all.
Get your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty apes.
Good Heston there, Joe. Good Heston. America, fuck yes. Okay, so he spins a good fairy tale, but he says
The
it.
cowards they are, back across the border.
Yep, to come back with 100 guns and burn this place, as Joe said, to come back with some fire and gasoline tonight and burn this place down.
Right, exactly, Jeff. 3 miles away, a couple miles away, not 3 miles, but quite a few miles away there in Mexico, they cut heads off and hang bodies from interstate pathways. But no
power,
here,
Joe.
they just leave when you say no. They just say, okay.
No power here.
I guess we can't extort Gus up there. Damn it! Why did he have to go to America?
Zero power, Joe. Zero power.
They will not return.
Oh no.
We will move on.
I had a portal gun that I shot at them and they ended up around.
This, my friends, I promise you that together
Ren, I'm sorry. The system is screwy pooey. Everyone should get notifications right away.
we will prosper.
All right.
Gus.
Yes.
They start clapping for him. The golf clap start, like the slow clap. One guy, and then everybody like.
Lyle starts.
Yeah.
Lyle really believes them, but there's some of the guys in the back that are like, "Are we really clap?" You and me in the back, they're like, "We're quitting, right?" Yep.
Right? Yeah, we're out of here.
Yeah, dude.
Wait till we get our shift meal, and then we can split. If you don't want your chicken, then I'll have it. But we're getting our shift meal first.
Landscaping jobs seeming a lot better. Better.
I don't know, man. That's the hot fucking desert. I'm not sure about landscaping out there.
Like we could work at a fucking Carl's Jr. or something like that.
There you go.
Let's go.
How about we
Carl's.
just move to Colorado and work in one of the shops?
Okay, that works too. or Massachusetts if they ever fucking open them up. So
Yeah.
different story altogether. Okay, so that's that whole situation with
Rag and Dirt Dio. So Phil, me, and a whole bunch of people we know all got a job at this restaurant that opened. Actually, a chicken restaurant called Boston Market. And within 2 weeks of them opening, the entire fucking crew that was hired and trained to open the store had quit.
Except for one.
Every single one of them.
No,
except for one person.
Troy. Troy worked there for a while.
Yeah. But everybody else was like...
And Devin did too. I think Devin worked there.
No, Devin didn't.
Ah.
No, he was gone.
These poor guys make what, $3 an hour, says Fred. Hector was a talker, and you know what Gus does to talkers. He sells them for cheap fucking chickens. And fucking, if you don't destroy bullies, they keep haunting you, says retired nurse. Internet weed. Okay, so what comes next? Oh, so Mike doesn't want the money from Victor. We kind of already talked about that. We got Gus talking to the folks. And then after that, we get into, I know this, I'm sometimes hard on her, and I do have my problems with her, and I'll get to it later in the episode, but I fucking love these montage Kim scenes. Kim gets shit done. And I've done similar things to what she's done in this situation. Not to cancel it, but having to call a bunch of places and ask the same question over and over again. And she has a different thing for
stalking girlfriends.
No, but that's usually just one, Joe. That's multiple calls to the same number. But I'm talking about like having to call. Oh, you mean places to see where she's at? No. Right. I always have a guy. There's always a guy. You know, if I'm trying to stalk someone, I always have eyes on them. So.
You got a mic keeping the tab.
Yeah, I got a guy. You want a tow, Joe? I can get you a tow by 5:30. You don't want to know where. So ultimately, Kim is on the phone just trying to find the repair people, and I like having Kim on Jimmy's side from a legal standpoint and backing him up because she's taking interest in this case as a fuck you to HHM for the way she feels like she got treated in the situation. She doesn't really give a shit about Jimmy in this whole thing. And I think it becomes obvious in the next scene when she goes into his office and he's kind of leaning in for a kiss, emotional stuff. And she's like, okay, I'm out of here. She's thinking about this as a, peace. She's thinking about this as a business war-like proposal of there isn't a lot of love left anymore for her. At least I don't see it in the way she's handling the situation. But she's giving him sage advice, involved in the plan process, and helping him fuck Chuck on a legal level in some ways that I don't completely understand yet. But she's getting what she needs and playing a very active role in Jimmy's scams, as we've seen she can do in the past. She's combining her law skill with slippin' Jimmyisms and performing well. She might end up hating Jimmy for this at the end, like going through all this and being like, I got you out of this. Now I got to get out of this business and I can't be with you anymore. Bye. I don't know if it's going to go in that direction, but I could see it going in that direction. But I definitely have liked Kim a lot in the last 2 episodes. Joe, what's your take on Kim at this point in season 3?
Pretty much the same as yours.
Pretty much.
Yeah, nothing I can add to that.
Yeah. So you agree that the romantic love that she has for Jimmy is long gone at this point?
Not long gone, but definitely faded. I think one of his big mistakes was not letting her defend him.
Right.
She wanted to do that, and that was a big slap to her. And I think she took that to heart a little. So
Rag says, when Gus isn't threatening babies, I root for him. And also adds, Kim does care about Jimmy, Phil. Phil, I disagree with you for the first time. I'm not saying she doesn't care about him. I just mean more of a romantic sense. I definitely think she cares about him, but I think she cares more about, she's in this for the fight. Chuck's an asshole, and he needs to be cut down a peg a little bit. She does have protection of Jimmy. I guess when I say she doesn't care, I mean more in a romantic, because he seemed to be wanting to get smushy with her there and get the face closer. He's like, yeah, thank you. You're special. And he kind of leans in for, like, at least I interpreted this leaning in for some loving. And she just kind of gives him the happy, it's okay, Jimmy, and walks away and walks away. So I still think she loves Jimmy. I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I pooped. But Ren says, without having backup tape, it proves it was premeditated.
Yeah, the fact that there was a backup tape shows that Chuck had set that all up to be Jimmy coming over there like that. Which was obvious because he had the PI there around the clock. What's his name was fucking jumping fences, trying to get through the yard. Fucking bunny hops.
So this is a little bit of the Kim scene.
Sure, gotcha. Sorry for bothering you. Hi, I'm calling because we had an appointment with you guys for I think Wednesday.
I also love how the actress is physicalizing the character. The way she bounces when she walks. She has this like she like bounces when she walks. It's just a fun characterization that just shows how peppy she is and how she's always going and stuff. And as much as I feel, because I can relate to Jimmy's emotionalness and her sort of coldness at times with him and keeping things on the level. It kind of irritates me on some level, but I really do appreciate the actress's portrayal of the character. I think she's in a show that has so many great things going on, so many characters from Breaking Bad that are iconic, and then these other new people like with Michael McKean being such a focal point of the series and being such an intense actor. I think she's carving out her own space and deserves some recognition for the work she's doing on the show, even this season and throughout. She's been a very consistent actress on the show. So Kim needs a little bit of slipping Jimmy right now. I think Jimmy needs it more, but I definitely think it could hurt. And Sam, I didn't get a chance to read Sam's comment before she deleted it. Bummer. So okay, so then we get Mike, we get Jim and Kim scene, then we get Chuck and Mike, because eventually this leads to Kim going into Jimmy's office and being like, okay, I got the information I needed. Do you have the right guy? And we of course, perfect. I got the perfect guy. So then we get the Mike and Chuck scene, which is a lot of fun, and it's perfect.
It's handyman and repair.
And Mike just ultimately, I love this scene. It was very funny the way Mike's just buzzing the thing and forcing Chuck upstairs, almost like he's just amused that it actually bothers him enough to make him want to go up there. He's just like, and this is where we more and more hear how much of an asshole just Chuck is. Chuck is just a butthead, and we're going to get into the biggest butthead move that Chuck makes through the whole thing a little bit later, but it's amazing to me how much of a pompous jerkhole Chuck can be. So here we go. We continue here in our, sorry, I lost my piece of paper. Okay, so then we get our next scene is Mike getting back and Mike and Saul having breakfast again, talking about the photos. Ultimately, this leads to Mike taking some photos already talked about this, in Chuck's apartment, Chuck's house, and then we don't see what else he gets, but he gets some other piece of information. A few seconds of Mike and Saul talking, which is really Saul Goodman.
Gas lantern sitting on a stack of friggin' Financial Times. Now that tells the whole story. These are museum quality. You, my friend, are the Ansel Adams of covert photography.
And I love how at one point he says to him at the beginning of that, like right before that scene, I kind of fast forwarded through it, and he says, we're going to have to talk about the rule of thirds at some point in time. And you get a little bit of taste of the Saul Goodman you get when he's like directing the commercials. Someone that really cares about camera angles, shit like that. And the look that Mike gives him back, it's just such a perfect acting moment when the two of them are in a scene together. It's some of my favorite shit that happens in the entire show. And they're just looking at each other. And Jonathan Banks, look, we're done, right? We're done.
Yeah, I can leave, right? I don't need to hear any of this shit. You got your photos, bye.
But in this situation, Joe, it was the opposite. It was, you can leave. You can leave now. The door is that way. You don't like my brother, right? He's an asshole. Okay, Mike. Just go. Mike is loving driving Chuck mad. I agree, Jeff. He definitely found his own joy in that scene with fucking with Chuck and seeing that it actually got him to run upstairs. Run upstairs. Like he didn't believe Jimmy that it would work. He's just like, wait, this is working. And the smile. It's just a great scene between two very funny and talented veteran actors with Michael McKean and Jonathan Banks. And it's freaking hilarious. Rag says Mike is my favorite character, and Oh yes, Sam, we're gonna get to that. The 298 of damages. That
I thought you had 3 younger brothers, retired nurse. That must be why you're only mentioning 2 of them.
Hey, no fact checking, Joe. No fact checking the live chat. So okay. So then we get Gus and Mike talk, which I really like, and it's short. So I want to play this conversation between Mike and Gus.
Back the payment we agreed upon.
What I did, I didn't do for you.
And on this note, Randall says there are so many different shades to Mike. I'm glad he's in this show. We're constantly exploring what motivates him to do and what he does. Even Gus is curious to observe what motivates him. And that's very true. And it's one of those things that, again, hearing Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould talk about this show, when they discuss things, they say that initially the show was going to be a half-an-hour comedy. They knew they wanted to bring Jonathan Banks into it, but once they had Mike, like, secured him in this cast, it started to be less and less appealing to them to do a half-an-hour comedy. In one of the podcasts recently, Jonathan Banks' reaction to that is like, "You're going to do a half-an-hour oh no, he said this on Talking Saul. I think he says this. What were you going to have me do?" And he can play funny. I mean, and they're like, "You're a funny guy. You're on comedy stuff. You can play comedy." And he's like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. I'm going to play Mike as a comedy character." But I'm so glad that they decided to go in this direction. And some people could say, "Oh, the title doesn't correctly depict what the show is turning into. It's turning into Albuquerque Breaking Bad universe." But I don't think the name really matters so much in this. It's the Better Call Saul. Is it? That's something initially they said they wanted to do much sooner too, that he was going to become full Saul Goodman very early on. But as Joe was mentioning earlier, they kind of write things very organically, make shit up naturally on how it's going to go. So they said the show just progressed further and they just kept going down a road.
It's happening this season. If not, he's losing the rights to use the name of his brother. I think that's what this is going to come down to. I think this isn't going to be about getting his license revoked, or even if that's what it's about, he's going to settle with, fine, if he's going to practice law, he can't use my name anymore.
Right. I agree with you, Joe. I tend to think that he's going to be Saul Goodman by the end of this season too.
And so the board will tell him, okay, you can practice law, but not under that name.
Yeah. And I mean, again, this is a question that's got asked us a lot, how long we think this show is going to go. And I think it's a very interesting question. Patience, we'll get there. Agreed, Joe says Red Walrus. Having Jimmy be Saul earlier would have seemed rushed. But I like that idea, Joe said in the live chat. So we see this. Let's go back to this Gus and Mike talk here as this is just foreplay for the inevitable, but it's all about this final line that Gus says, which again lets us see one more. People were saying shades of Mike, and I think Mike, as interested in Mike as Gus is, I think on some level Mike is also kind of never seen someone quite like Gus before, and it doesn't know how to quite take him. Whereas usually Mike knows how to get the jump on everyone. This guy got the jump of him. This guy wants to pay him, but is okay that he didn't take the money and came to talk to him and have a civil conversation without a thug and sit down and have a one-on-one conversation with him and seem sensible. He has the same goals. And I think Gus, we're going to talk about this at the end of this scene. Why, and think about this while we listen to this, that why does Gus feel like he needs to tell Mike this thing at the end? And I'm very curious how this conversation goes, because obviously Gus is trying to play Mike and get him to play his game, but let's see how he does it.
The man, the one killed for helping the truck driver. If I may make an observation, perhaps you are trying to correct something which cannot be corrected.
No, not the kind of thing I want to take money for.
But the fact remains that your actions benefited me more than you can know.
That's your business. I'm just glad to have Salamanca out of my head.
So right away, Gus is showing him that I have a sense of honor like you have a sense of honor.
Well, perhaps in the future, you will consider working for me. I
love the music there to symbolize that if he starts working for him, it's ultimately going to lead to his death. Randall says, also, as brilliant as Chuck is, he never encountered someone as cunning as Mike. That's why the scene with Chuck and Mike is so great, because Chuck's weakness is his arrogance. Awesome comment, Randall.
Not just that, it's also electricity.
Electricity put him on tilt. You get Mike put him on tilt.
Arrogance is his weakness, or his weakness is arrogance, but his kryptonite is electricity.
Could be. Depend on the work.
As long as I don't have to work
anyone.
As long as I don't have to work with a chemistry teacher or something. Okay, so it depends on the work. So Gus's reaction to this is just kind of like, okay, I accept that. And the next thing he says to him, this is the thing I'm curious of your take on, Joe, and why he chooses to say this. Crickets. Long pregnant.
Would
pup.
you care to know why I stopped you from killing Hector?
Like you said, it wasn't in your interest.
A bullet to the head would have been far too humane.
Now, does he tell him that? This is my question to you, Joe, or my speculation. Does he tell him that to show that he's not all just or sunshine and lollipops, and that if Mike really wants revenge and wants Hector to die, he's in too? Because I didn't stop him because he's my friend and he's my competition or whatever. I didn't stop him because I want that fucker to suffer. Why do you think he told Mike that?
So he knows that he's all in on certain things. So I think just so he knows a little bit more of where he stands, where this guy stands. I think it was a little curious. I don't think we needed it. It was kind of like when he answered him, you have your reasons. I don't care. Basically, Gus should have been like,
no, Gus wanted him to say that information, or
right.
Or the show wanted the audience to hear Gus say that.
And we don't need that. We don't need that. I think that goes to that kind of thing. Like, you know, I can never remember the name of the Mel Gibson movie where he says to the camera, "I'm the man that's got nothing to lose," and it's like, don't tell us that. Show us that.
Okay,
they do such a great job at showing it to us that there has to be that Gus wanted Mike to know it at that moment, and I'm going to chalk it up to that.
The only other thing I have to offer to that is I like to look at it from this perspective too. If you have never seen Breaking Bad, do you need that line to know that Gus hates Saul? Did they put that line?
No, it makes it better, I think, without that line. If you've never seen Breaking Bad and you're not going into this knowing where everything kind of ends up at some point, then I think not having that line makes this more compelling, makes us more intrigued by Gus as a character. What's his motivation behind it? You know, now we're like, okay, what's his motivation behind him hating him? Well, we kind of know he killed his boyfriend or his partner or whatever, or many other people, who knows. But it's a line that I don't really think we need. I think it's a waste. I think it's.
I loved it. I can't. I love the fucking line. No,
it's a waste. There's other ways to get that from him.
Fair. It was a little bit of a wink to the camera, and I question what his intentions were in that line. And for a show that you analyze, that was easy to analyze everything and look into it, I question what his intentions were with that line. So I see what you're saying there, but I love the line. I love the line read. I love seeing that side of Gus because we don't get to see it often. I thought it was a lot more effective than having him do an evil look to the camera in episode 2 or whatever it was. But
right, there's so many more ways to get our hate for Hector from Gus than for him to have to tell it to Mike like that. Maybe it's just, I'm only guessing, it's just so, you know, now that you've said you'll agree to work with me for some jobs, know that I really hate that motherfucker, and just straight killing him is not going to be good enough. So if you want jobs fucking with him, they're available.
Right, they'll always be available.
Those jobs are always going to exist. So maybe that's the reason for that line, just so he knows for sure that he's all in on fucking over Hector. Aside from that, we don't need that line. And I kind of, you know, what we get from Gus in his character so often is a silent, like that silent animal that's just in the corner, you know, that silent guy in the corner, that silent person, you know, that just fucking explodes at times, or that, you know, there's the calm before the storm. The silence is very scary to a lot of people. You know, like,
I hear you, but I also
like, oh, you're just like, Mike is very silent. He doesn't do a lot of talking. Someone says that to him at some point, right? Like, oh, I take it you don't do a lot of talking. Okay, well.
What I like about this episode, though, Joe, and I definitely hear what you're saying, but what I like about this episode, and I think what they're setting up here, and why I think I really enjoy him coming back to the show, is I feel like we've seen through Breaking Bad's eyes the public persona of Gus Fring, like who he is to the cops and all that sort of shit. And then we see the dark side, evil shit. But I also like seeing him shoot the basketball. And I like seeing him be a little bit more real and direct with Mike at times, and being like, and not quite on his full game, kind of still figuring it out, dealing a little bit too much with emotion, considering where, again, to go to what I was saying earlier, considering that Hector is his ultimate downfall. Yeah, it's Walt, but it's through Hector that Walt gets him. And we're seeing Gus seed the seeds to his own demise here in this situation by not just killing Hector and not being done with it and not just letting Mike do this. And we're seeing ultimately both these guys causing their own death. So it could make sense to me that maybe also the Gus just wants Mike to know, you know, like when you're really angry about something in that moment and you're just, he lost his emotions in a moment there too, and just kind of said too much to try to get Mike over to his side. But I guess I just like the line read a little bit more than anything, and I like seeing a little bit.
He delivered it well, like Sam says. It was delivered very nicely. Gus does a great job acting angry.
Yeah, and I like a little bit more emotion coming from his character, and seeing a little bit more of who he is and as a person, and all three of the person.
I would rather see it from him than have to hear it from him like that. That just seems, okay, yeah, all right.
Silence can be menacing, says Jeff.
Yes.
And yeah, Jesse says that to me. I was just gonna say, tread lightly, Joe. Tread lightly. No. So our next scene that we get is the Jimmy and Howard. Howard's such an asshole. Jimmy's in there with the lights on, and Howard comes in and goes and turns off the lights to protect Chuck, or just like fuck with Jimmy, to be like, Jimmy, it's time to go. And they all head in, and eventually there's really kind of uncomfortable highs going back and forth between each characters. It's a setup. Hi. So eventually the DA shows up, and I love this actress that they got to play the DA. I don't know what I know her from, but I've definitely seen her in other things.
Did you watch Vice Principals?
I've seen a couple episodes. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, she's like one of the main
she's
one of
the principal that comes in.
Yeah. Okay. So I have seen her before, and she's awesome in this scene. She fits really well. Her self-righteousness about the situation and the way she feeds into Chuck, and she's like taking care of Chuck, and Kim and Jimmy's reactions in the scene.
I don't think your written apology signature is good enough. Get up and shake his hand and tell him he is a good older brother and that you still love him.
Hug him right now.
Are you serious, woman? Jimmy wanted to get up and smack. He felt so fucking dirty when he left. But wow, his words were powerful. He almost made Chucky cry.
He did almost make Chucky cry.
Either that or he was crying for Saul because he felt like this woman was demeaning him and he felt bad for him.
No, I read that situation a little bit different, Joe. I read it more in the situation that Jimmy was basically saying to Chuck, you would do this to your brother, kind of like talking shit to him.
Yep. Oh, it was backhanded. It was a backhanded apology. I'm sorry that you made me do this. I'm sorry that I had to do these things because of the way that you are, and I will do better not to do these things anymore. Like, it was a backhanded apology, and it was very, it got underneath Chuck's skin.
Oh yeah, Chuck, and also what got underneath Chuck's skin was Kim's plan to change the word. I kind of slipped over this earlier when Jimmy's finishing off his speech about the damaging versus destroying property. it was Kim's idea, and she smiles with like, maybe you'll get away with this, knowing that it will also put Chuck on tilt, that Chuck is going to catch this one line.
Right. They wanted to keep the word that it was a cassette tape. They wanted to keep cassette tape out of the finding so that maybe it wouldn't get introduced at the hearing.
And Just Me Again says, Joe, that's not unusual having someone apologize and having to verbally do it.
A judge may.
Judge
may do it, but she's a DA, and that's just bullshit. Go fuck yourself, woman.
Right. You're his lawyer. Of course, you're gonna be self-righteous about it. Don't do that. I think what Jimmy was, and Claudia says, I think Jimmy and Kim were both getting exactly what they wanted in this scene. I tend to
oh God, here's the like, okay, judge makes them do it so that it's part of the court record, so that it's written, that it's on tape. The stenographer has put it down on paper or whatever the fucking case is these days. But this woman made him do it because she's a fucking asshole, because she wanted to exert that power, because she wanted to make him apologize to her brother, that poor fucking disabled guy over there at the other corner of the fucking
table. Also wanted Jimmy in jail because of the situation, and because Chuck would force this issue of having this pre-prosecution.
She
Chuck's idea. Yeah, in the last episode, she's like, I want to throw the book at him. I want to go felony. I want to hold the water. I think a lawyer should be held to a higher standard in X, Y, and Z.
She's a smug fucking asshole. That's why she did it.
I'll have to do. Thank you.
If he's going to dance at home, it's going to be the big bottom.
Yes.
And
let's hear. This room will have to do.
He just said it. Yeah, this will have to do. Chuck is such a dick.
Speaking to my husband about your condition.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, here it is.
I had an aunt. She's no longer with us. She went to church every Sunday, but when the boys' choir sang, she would absolutely have to leave. Something about the frequency of their voices really did a number on her.
Well, that is a shame. Indeed.
Big bottom.
The frequency, I just can't stand the sound of that choir's voices.
The thing is, when Chuck feels like he has the advantage, he lets his guard down. As long as you feed Chuck's ego, he loves to demonstrate how much smarter he is than you. Do you think it will end with Chuck being institutionalized? I think it's going to end with Chuck. I think Chuck's dead by the end of the season.
Institutionalized.
For you,
Joe says institutionalized.
I think that's a great thing, especially because we have that being said by Jimmy last episode when he's sitting on the curb, which was just so amazing. That was such a great let me tell you what's about to fucking happen, asshole. I'm never going to talk to you again, and you're going to die alone, you fucking piece of shit. Here's my ride. All right.
Bitch.
That being said, along with the line that you pointed out earlier and wanted to know about, that just, death is too good for that son of a bitch Hector. I think, no, Chuck is not going to die alone, or at least not going to die alone at the end of this. I don't think. I think he's going to be institutionalized, and that will be unbelievably awesome if that is what he ends up doing to his brother. It'll be just so dysfunctional that
the victims.
Okay, so here's the damage thing.
Would it not be more accurate to say destroyed a cassette tape?
I'm sorry, wasn't the cassette?
But they don't have those kind of institutionalization things anymore.
What was that,
just
Jeff?
to let it be known. They don't have those. I mean, they do, but the most he would be in there for like a month, if that, maybe a few months. But no, he'd be back out on his own. He's fine. They don't house people like they used to. It's not like the freaking 30s where you can just turn your wife over to the fucking psych hospital and have her committed for the rest of her life so you can get on with your shit.
Teacup, not a chair, a cassette tape.
Good old days, right, Joe?
No, not the good old days.
We were talking about it back in my day.
It's just not like that anymore. And like Chuck would be out in 3 days. Most likely Chuck would be out of the hospital in 3 days. At least if it was in Massachusetts, he'd be out of the hospital in 3 days. If that. If he wasn't able to outsmart the doctor to talk him into discharging him almost immediately, which probably wouldn't happen, but 3 days he'd be out. He'd get a court hearing with a judge and be out in 3 days.
Al Red Sox. Well, great to see you, Al Red Sox fan. Great to see everyone in the live motherfucking chat. But Chuck never stopped to think that truly outside of Jimmy, Chuck has no one. Absolutely random. Nobody. So only if he is still incompetent and Jimmy had the guardianship would he be able to keep him in there. And if Jimmy somehow took control of him and could convince Howard and stuff or everybody that he needed to.
No, but he still couldn't keep him in a psych hospital, or he could maybe get him put into a group home. But even that, he would just end the guardianship. He would get himself a lawyer and have the guardianship ended.
Yep.
Works for us. Shall I change it, or
If you would.
Should I initially? This is just a fun piece of business between them all, but eventually it leads to the apology.
I'm very sorry. I lost my temper and I did some things, so many things that I regret. I shouldn't have broken down your door.
Yep, I don't regret. I regret breaking down your door.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how I was provoked.
I shouldn't have done that. There's no excuse for that or for the things that I said. I regret it all. All of it.
Absolutely regret it because it's on tape.
Because
I regret I can't do it again. Because
no one should treat his own brother like that. Not ever.
Okay. So no, in this,
he's talking to Chuck right now. He's not saying, he's saying the way you treated me. This is what you did. No, even though no brother should ever be treated like this, I still shouldn't have done the things that I did. It's in an odd sentence structure, but that's exactly what he's saying and how he's saying it. He's not saying I shouldn't have treated you the way I treated you by kicking in your door and saying those things. I shouldn't have kicked in your door no matter how I was provoked. I should never have said those awful things because that's not how a brother is supposed to be treated.
Yeah, one's brother should not treat one's brother in a fashion like this. That's basically what he's ultimately saying in this situation.
Right. So I regret a lot of things. I regret the fact that,
you're my brother.
You did this.
So let's get to the real thing that I want to talk about in this scene, and I want to play this part because this is where Jimmy's gotten underneath Chuck's skin, and Chuck is feeling all schmarmy about this whole situation. So Chuck has to throw in one last thing. This motherfucking Chuck.
Gail, according to your agreement, you have 2 weeks to pay your brother back.
I would like to pay up now, if I may.
No, it's an extra $3 for the cassette. And it gets put down as cassette at that point. He gets it in there. He sneaks it in.
Figure doesn't represent a full accounting.
Oh, no?
I believe the correct amount is $323.98. That includes the cassette tape, which was destroyed.
Thank you.
I agree. Phil. I think what you're hinting at is Jimmy wants him to do this. They expect this out of Chuck for some reason. There's something about the wording. Yeah, sorry, Joe, go.
Here's the thing. If the cassette is destroyed and it's irrevocably repaired, which Howard calls it in this deposition, right? In this hearing, right? He says it's unrepairable, so we want the money for it. Okay. That being said, it's a duplicate of the tape they thought they were going after.
Jimmy broke the duplicate.
So Jimmy broke the duplicate. So now that they say this cassette and what I'm paying for, that's the cassette Jimmy broke. That's why he's in trouble, not the other cassette. That's not
right.
Maybe that doesn't get played because of this, and then because it's unusable. Hey, you can't prove that there's anything even on that tape. That it's a duplicate could be, sriracha recipes.
Sriracha recipe. Jeff says, yeah, the wording is so important. Iron says, cassette tapes are making a comeback. Put your damn Walkmans on eBay. Make big fucking bucks. If Chuck was no longer with HAM, how involved would Howard be in his life? I think a lot. I think Howard, to use the fanboy word again, I think we've figured out that Howard does fanboy on Chuck on some level. He thinks that Chuck is his hero. And even if Chuck retired from HHM, I think he would feel a relationship with Chuck and protect him on some level and like be his counsel and such. So was Kim wearing a wire, making her own tape? Possibly. A couple people have been when she's talking to Chuck and Howard afterwards when Chuck admits to having the extra tape. There maybe because when Kim comes back to Jimmy after that, Jimmy goes, "Did you get it?" And she says, "Bingo." So she got something that she wanted from them. in that situation, whether it's the knowledge of the tape, recorded them talking about making the copy of the tape, whatever Kim wanted to get in that situation was successful. We just don't know what she got to make her say bingo in that moment. So, so we get the apology, and then we get the Kim and Chuck's. Let's listen to that scene right here.
You're both on notice regarding the bar hearing. First thing, I'm filing a motion to suppress that tape.
The tape that Jimmy destroyed, you mean?
How about we stop with the games? There's no way there isn't a duplicate.
Really?
No, it's the original.
Yeah.
You knew Jimmy was going to break in. You wanted him to. There's no way you were going to let him destroy the only copy of that tape, so you made a duplicate. It's the first thing you did.
Kim, this is not how we do discovery.
So
Actually,
I want to
Jimmy-
pause right there. Howard tries to stop Chuck from doing this. Because listen, Chuck talks and then Howard goes, stop. And Chuck goes, no, I'm fine. Which goes to what someone in the live chat was. I'm sorry, I'm not giving you credit because I can't remember who said it. But it said it a few seconds ago. When Chuck feels like he has all the cards, he acts cocky and drops his guard down a little bit. He's a good con man when he can deal with Jimmy, someone who understands him emotionally. Kim is fucking him lawyer-wise and getting under his skin emotionally and making him do something outside of the protocol of what he should normally do. Because Howard's trying to stop him here.
Well, it was all a setup. The whole part in the courtroom, Jimmy getting to rake that tear almost out of Chuck for a half a second there.
Yep.
Like it's all kind of a setup. And then the way she approaches them, she doesn't just approach them as another lawyer, which she does, but she also approaches them as like, hey guys, we used to work together. Let's drop the bullshit. We know what's going. We all know each other here.
Yeah,
she's it's kind of how she approaches this conversation. So it really does. Yeah, it drops both. It drops anyway. It drops Chuck enough to get Chuck to drop Howard's guard.
Exactly.
That's fine, Howard.
That's fine, Howard.
The original is under lock and key, and in due time, it will be put into evidence for your review. So, of course, file whatever motions you.
So already that's showing that that Chuck is actively hiding evidence from her, where she should already be disclosing that in a timely manner. So I think legally somewhere it says that if the evidence exists, you need to supply that in a timely manner. Chuck is saying that he's dragging his feet. That's something that they can use to start to throw out the tape. It's one factor. It shows, I don't know what else it shows, but that's one thing that just occurred to me while I was saying, like, he's saying, yeah, you'll get that eventually, but if you know where it is, you're just stalling.
It's your privilege.
I will count on it.
But Kim, you should be aware, because I believe this will be your first disciplinary hearing. The Bar Association standard of proof is far more lenient than what you're used to.
And they're all my friends.
Yep, they're all my friends.
That tape will be played.
Sam says, yeah, Chuck's smugness in this episode is disgusting. Corey says, Chuck is all smug now. Oh, Corey, great to see you, buddy. You get one W and now you're an asshole. Fake Chuck, retired nurse says, make Chuck feel like he has Jimmy right where he wants him. Absolutely.
Chuck, see you, Kim.
The problem is the tape's not going to be used in a trial or anything. It's going to be used in the bar review. It's true. So I think whatever they're trying to get is to try to work against, to break down Chuck's credibility on some level. But okay, so then we lead into this scene where eventually she walks up to Jimmy and says, "That's the end of the episode."
What? Bingo.
And then they walk out simultaneously as Jimmy's trying to follow her, and that is the end of our episode. And we talked about this a little bit before, and we kind of hinted around it, Joe. What do you think the bingo is? Not like bingo night, not like I got bingo. What did she get in that situation in your imagination?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure what. There's a lot of little things that I don't know. I really don't.
I really don't know either. A couple people, I didn't even think about the taping thing until a couple people in the live chat suggested that. I thought maybe the knowledge that there's another tape, but what does that really do? They probably assume that anyway. I'm not exactly sure what she was hoping to get that what she got. I'm not, and that doesn't mean I don't think that they have a plan. They probably have an excellent plan that I'm just not smart enough to figure out yet.
I'm putting my money on that.
That we're not smart enough to figure it out.
Yes.
Yes, I think.
Oh, now you include we. At first, it was just you're not smart enough to figure it out. Now you include we.
Hey,
Okay.
hey, this
I'm
is
still putting my money on
next
it.
week. Next week, I'm a little motherfucker. You're part of this week's podcast. But ultimately, even when you're wrong, it's the channels fill the issues, guys. All about me being wrong. So at this point in Better Call Saul, we're 4 episodes in. We're about to get to the halfway mark.
Retired nurse. How does that put Chuck in the wrong legally?
Right. In what situation does that put Chuck in the wrong legally? I don't think in any situation, and Sam can answer this better than anybody in the live chat.
By provoking him to do illegal? Like, if I provoke someone to punch me in the face, it's still wrong for them to punch me in the face.
Right. I just mean the hiding the tape. If not disclosing the tape right away in a timely manner can cause the tape to be thrown out somehow of this situation. But I don't even know. It's a different kind of court. It's not a court. It's the bar association situation. So, and we see.
Or even in like a civil court, like OJ wasn't guilty of murder, but he was guilty and owed those people money, right?
Yeah. And in next week's episode, we've in the previews, if we look to the previews for next week, it's a lot of courtroom stuff. It seems like it's very much focused on Chuck and Jimmy in a courtroom together, going off, battling each other. The tape is inadmissible in a real court. Ragnar says, we weren't smart enough to figure out Chuck's plan either, to be honest. Is it illegal to bait someone to commit a crime? I believe committing the crime is illegal, and the baiting of someone to commit the crime is illegal.
Well, the police all the time, right? They go up and make undercover drug buys. They're baiting someone to sell drugs.
Wasn't the whole didn't Charles Manson basically bait people to commit murders, and he was held accountable for it? Like, he didn't actually commit the crimes. He just got people that believed in his shit to commit the crimes.
A conspiracy to commit crimes.
Yep. Yeah, a conspiracy to commit crimes. Yep. Sam, there's a bunch of voice verification issues that can be disputed, and it's the invasion of privacy will get thrown out under the 4th Amendment. Mike changed the door, so he's probably got an extra key or something like that. Can you imagine Chuck would have taped Gus? Gus would have smacked him in the face and made him bark like a dog. Did anyone else notice what looked like a lie detector in the preview? I did not notice that after reading.
Oh, I hope Chucky's getting hooked up to that.
Oh, that would be amazing. That little Chucky doll. And Jimmy goes, hey, Chucky, want to play? That'd be horrible. I'm sorry. That was awful. No, Joe, dealers are already out there.
No, sometimes they're sitting at home and they get called.
It's true. To
come meet somebody somewhere. Or can I come over because I got your number from a friend? And they say, yeah, come on over. And they get up arresting the person. You know, the fuck. I know that police fucking are allowed. It's against the law for you to lie to a police officer. You cannot tell if a police officer asks you a question. Supposedly it's against the law to lie to them, but they are allowed to lie to you. And the court has determined that as an adult human, you should be able to discern the differences to when you're being lied to or not by a police officer. But a police officer, as an adult human, is not to be able to discern that, so it's illegal for you to lie to them.
You tell one lie, it leads to another.
Hindering investigations and all that kind of shit. So.
Oh my goodness.
Seriously, it's fucked up. It's 2 different standards. 2 different standards, as usual. That's
why, Joe, when we used to get pulled over and stuff, I never said a word, right, Joe?
Nothing that wasn't kind.
Yeah, I always kept my mouth shut, right, Joe? So I guess it's about time. Jeff says, "Wow, Joe, the tape was destroyed so they could plant a tape to say anything." I know. Take care, Al, Red Sox fan. Great to see you. But I think it's as good a time as any to start to wrap things up. Gus is let's take a couple more live motherfucking chatters. Corey says, Gus is going to exit the room to the left, and you better get out of the way unless you want to be smacked upside the head with his dick. Sam says, I can't stand the ship police are able to get away with, but civilians can't. Says
it's criminal.
And the tape was destroyed. Chucky want to play, Phil? I know it's bad. I'm sorry. It was bad. I want to get my little Chucky doll. And I think this is a good time as any, Joe. I do want to announce that we have the magic wheel. So,
oh God, when are we going to kick off the first night? Because I thought you were going to start spinning that shit today. I was like, Phil, I don't got anything to shoot.
We have basically what this is if anyone actually helps out and does a super chat donation, we have for now just temporary things. I can erase any of these things and write in different things. I just put in like temporary things like trumpet solo. Things about Phil and Joe have to watch one episode of Fear the Walking Dead and do a review of it.
No, that's not going to happen.
It's on the list, Joe. Joe takes a shot. Phil and Joe have to do 20 push-ups. Both take a shot. Drum solo.
No, you got to remove the Fear the Walking Dead one. That one needs that.
No, Joe.
If someone wants to donate something special for that, I'll do that. But I'm not going to take an hour out of my life for somebody's $2.
It happens. It's a one.
Just can't do it, man. Just can't do it.
It's happening, Joe. It's on the.
Just can't do it. Sorry.
The wheel doesn't.
Sorry, it's not just an hour out of my life. It's an hour out of my. Oh my God! What the fuck am I watching? Why? Like, no, that's not on. I can, good faith, participate in that particular
show. Joe, it's happening.
I reserve the right to edit any of those squares as seen fit.
You don't reserve a shit.
Edit. I get an edit. I get to edit at least 3 squares.
Yes, but fear stays.
No, fear does not stay. Fear does not stay. I would rather you put a Westworld on there, but even that I might have a problem with. That's a lot to commit. That's a lot to commit. No.
I don't like this show.
How does this? Before I get ahead of myself here. How does this wheel? This wheel gets kicked off by somebody donating to Super Chat. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So along with that will be part of the wheel. But if you want to make a tier system, like a $50 donation gets me to watch a fucking episode, then that's fine. You can put that on a tier donation list.
No.
And we can add that. But that is not a $2 spin. That is not a $2 spin. I'm sorry.
Joe, it's
as is already. The $2 barely covers the vodka we got to take a shot of.
Joe. And
then if it's we both have to take a shot. Oh my God, we're going down.
Just sit there and take it
like a
it like a man. Shut up and take it like a reviewer.
What, like you want me to take it like a man in a fetal ball?
How much
crying?
worse could it be for Walking Dead this season? So everyone, if anyone was here just for Better Call Saul, we're ending the Better Call Saul stream. We already ended that, but this is the magic wheel. Please. Check out, send me if you have any suggestions for things to be added to the wheel.
Please, especially think of everybody a suggestion to cover up that Fear the Walking Dead nonsense.
You can email me at igotissuesman@gmail.com, or if you're in the Discord group, we have an actual group that says Wheel of Issues suggestions. Please give the suggestions. We'll get the first 14 things up there. Probably the next stream we do with Joe, we'll have the wheel active on the Better Call Saul in 2 weeks recap. Or if the month of May is going to be a little bit awkward for us because I'll talk about that in the stream. Joe and I might also be on tomorrow afternoon briefly to do some testing.
So I got a question. This is a little bit off subject, but for this trip that we're going to be taking soon, which is what's cluttering up some of the month of May here. We should bring a couple of our systems because we're all going to be there, and we're all going to be there for like 1 or 2 nights to take like a 6-hour fucking chunk out one of the hotel room in one of the rooms and have a game night.
I'm not sure about that because let's talk about that off show.
Okay, and then another thing I wanted to mention is Lady Squee. That was a hell of a good time. I don't know if she's even watching, but that was a hell of a good time. Was Sam there? Playing the game the other day. We got to do that again. That was a lot of fun.
Lady Squee on her Twitch channel had.
Taka's done it a couple times too, but he should have come over that time. We just got to do that more. That was fun. That was a hell of a good time.
The first FOP game night. So if anyone wants to join the Discord group, get in there and you can find out when the next one is. But also put it out in the Google Plus group and Facebook, and follow me on Twitter. And whenever we have those game nights, we were doing the jack off box games and. So definitely join us for those. There's a lot of fun over on Squee's channel, and
off in the box.
And we'll definitely do a lot more game nights and things like that in the future. And we can use this board not just for Super Chat, but for just like games, like trivia questions, and other kinds of things.
All sorts of fun stuff
on our movie nights to decide what movie we want to watch and all sorts of stuff. So everyone, I guess this is a good enough time as any, Joe. Joe, I will talk to you possibly tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll do something.
Yeah, we'll do a little something tomorrow afternoon. We'll get on for a little boat.
I'll be dropping Katie off for work. I'll come home and then
we'll sign on and do some stuff. Stuff. We'll do some things and some stuff and things. So yeah, we'll talk to you guys next time. Have a good night.
Peace.
Oh, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Share it with a friend. Do it all. Leave a comment. Check out some of our other videos. Share them. Oh shit. Oh no, it's gonna be that thing where the music stops and I just keep jumping around because I think I still hear the music. Oh fuck, the music's still going.